For a single-celled organism, like an amoeba, gas exchange is a direct consequence of its size. Because the organism is microscopic, the oxygen required for aerobic respiration simply diffuses across the cell membrane and reaches the core almost instantly. But as an organism grows, the math shifts entirely. The internal volume of the cell, which dictates its oxygen demand, increases cubically. Meanwhile, the surface area of the membrane, the supply line, only increases squarely. The larger the organism, the smaller its surface area becomes relative to its volume. This scaling creates a physical bottleneck. Oxygen diffuses inward from the surface, but in a large solid mass, it is consumed by the outer layers faster than it can reach the center. This creates a zone in the core where oxygen concentration effectively hits zero. This scaling creates a hard physical constraint. Because the rate of diffusion decreases with distance, a large multicellular organism cannot rely solely on its outer surface to support the metabolic needs of its internal cells. To overcome this, biology must internalize the environment. Large organisms have evolved specialized structures that bring the external air or water deep into the body, effectively bypassing the distance limits of simple diffusion. From this perspective, the complex anatomy of large animals is a collection of engineering solutions to a single geometric problem. To understand how this works, we can analyze three distinct evolutionary paths: mammals, bony fish, and insects. While these animals look nothing alike, they all manipulate the same three physical variables. The first is surface area. By folding membranes into complex shapes, they create a massive space for gas to move across. The second physical variable is the diffusion distance. The barriers between the environment and the internal tissues are reduced to the thickness of a single cell to ensure gas moves rapidly. The third variable is the concentration gradient. Because gases naturally move from high pressure to low pressure, the organism must continuously refresh the air or water at the surface to keep the oxygen moving inward. We are going to look at how atmospheric air, dense water, and rigid chitin forced evolution to build three different systems that all achieve these exact same goals. Mammals have an exceptionally high demand for oxygen. Maintaining a constant body temperature requires a high rate of aerobic respiration, which means the mammalian lung must be a high-performance exchange surface. Air enters through the trachea and travels through a branching network of bronchi and bronchioles. These tubes grow progressively narrower as they penetrate the lung tissue, following a fractal-like path to reach every corner of the organ. At the end of this network are the alveoli, hundreds of millions of microscopic air sacs. Collectively, they provide a massive internal surface area, roughly the size of a tennis court, all packed within the human chest. To solve the distance variable, both the walls of the alveoli and the surrounding capillaries are made of squamous epithelial tissue, just one cell thick. This creates the shortest possible path for oxygen to reach the red blood cells. To keep oxygen diffusing, the system must maintain a gradient. This is achieved through ventilation, the mechanical process of breathing that brings in fresh, high-oxygen air. Inspiration is an active process. The diaphragm contracts and flattens, while external intercostal muscles pull the ribcage out. This increases thoracic volume. This utilizes Boyle's law. As chest volume increases, lung pressure falls below atmospheric pressure. This forces air to rush in. The mammalian lung acts as a mechanical bellows, using muscular energy to ensure a constant supply of fresh air reaches the exchange surface. Bony fish operate in a much more difficult medium. Water is dense, viscous, and holds much less dissolved oxygen than air, meaning the fish must be far more efficient at extraction than a mammal. To maximize flow, water moves in a single direction. It enters through the mouth, passes over the gill arches, and exits through the operculum. This unidirectional flow is the foundation for a highly efficient exchange system. To see why direction matters, consider parallel flow. Blood and water move together, eventually reaching equilibrium. Diffusion stops at 50%. Bony fish bypass this with a countercurrent system. By running blood opposite to water, blood always encounters slightly higher oxygen concentration. Because the blood is always meeting fresher water as it moves along the gill, equilibrium is never reached. A steep concentration gradient is maintained across the entire length of the exchange surface. This simple reversal of fluid direction allows fish to extract up to 80% of the oxygen from the water, a level of efficiency required to survive in an oxygen-poor environment. The result is a system that effectively overcomes the low oxygen density of the water by ensuring the gradient never disappears. Insects face a different challenge. Sealed inside a rigid exoskeleton without a circulatory system for gas transport, their metabolic demand during flight is absolutely massive. Their solution is a direct piping network. Air enters through external spiracles, travels through reinforced trachea tubes, and permeates the entire body. These tubes branch into microscopic tracheals that deliver air directly to the surface of individual muscle cells. In insects, the air itself travels to the tissues, lighter than the blood bringing oxygen to them. At rest, tracheal tips are filled with fluid, limiting surface area for gas exchange when demand is low. During flight, muscle cells resort to anaerobic respiration, producing lactic acid. This lowers water potential, drawing tracheal fluid into the cells via osmosis. As fluid retreats, a much larger surface area is exposed to the air. As the fluid moves out of the way, oxygen can diffuse much faster and more directly into the respiring tissue. This movement also helps draw fresh air deeper into the system, maintaining the gradient exactly when it is needed most. This allows the insect's internal architecture to physically respond to metabolic stress, maximizing diffusion capacity only when the organism is under high demand. We have seen 3 different systems adapted to 3 different worlds: the high metabolism mammalian lung, the dense aquatic gill, and the direct piping insect tracheae. Even with vastly different anatomies, these systems are all optimized to solve the same 3 physical variables. They all must systematically maximize their surface area, minimize the diffusion distance, and actively maintain a steep concentration gradient. Mammals use mechanical pressure, fish use countercurrent fluid dynamics, and insects use osmotic fluid shifts. Regardless of the evolutionary path, life is governed by the same uncompromising rules of physical chemistry. Anatomy is at its most fundamental level, biology solving a geometry problem.